Hey, First United Methodist Church, it is Pastor Shannon here with our weekly update for March 3rd. And as you can see, I am working from home today. I am here waiting on a plumber who's going to fix a leak. If you hear any rustling or jingling, that's just my dog Jack. He's down here at the side of my chair. But I wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit more about one of the stories I preached on this past Sunday, Jesus changing water into wine. Now, there's always so much more that I would love to include in my sermons, but nobody wants to listen to a 45-minute sermon, myself included. But there's a couple really interesting tidbits or just insights from this story that I'd love to share with you now. The very first thing is that in John chapter 2, the story begins by saying that this miracle happened on the third day. But the third day of what? We don't know. The third day of the week, the third day of the month, the third day of the wedding feast or the wedding celebration. John doesn't tell us. But if we are astute readers of the Gospel of John, our ears might perk up when we hear those words, the third day. Because what else happens on the third day? Jesus's resurrection, of course. Jesus turned water into wine on the third day, and Jesus rose from the dead on the third day. Now, in the literary world, this is known as foreshadowing. This miracle story, it's a little teaser or a little preview into what is going to happen later on. On the third day, we get to rejoice and celebrate. We thought that the party was dead and over, the wine had run out, but it wasn't. Jesus made more wine and we can continue celebrating. We thought that Jesus was dead and buried, but he wasn't. He rose again back to life. Beautiful things happen on the third day. Now, the second kind of interesting insight or tidbit from this story is Jesus's mother, Mary. What's really weird is that in the entire book of John, Jesus's mother is never named. She's always just called Jesus's mother. Now, we know her name is Mary from the other Gospels, from Matthew, Mark, and Luke, but John never uses her name, and we're kind of wondering, well, why doesn't he? Well, this is actually a really intentional choice for the author of John. By not naming Mary, we can place ourselves into her position. Mary represents us in this story and our role of being a faithful disciple of Jesus. Mary is often considered the very first disciple of Jesus, the first one to follow Jesus, to believe in him, to trust him. And so she is this representative figure who models belief and trust and discipleship. So we are to put ourselves into Mary's place. We are to be the ones who declare to others, do whatever he tells you to do, just like she tells the servants. This is essentially what discipleship is. It is doing whatever Jesus tells us to do. And Mary is the model disciple. But then a little bit later, we are also the servants in the story. We are the ones who do what he tells us to do. If we do what Christ tells us, then our ordinary lives will become extraordinary, just like this ordinary water became extraordinary, excellent wine. So I thought that was interesting. I hope that you found those things interesting as well. Next Sunday, we continue in our series on the Gospel of John. We'll be looking at two other stories, John chapter 3, the story of Nicodemus, and John chapter 4, the story of the Samaritan woman at the well. I hope you are reading along in John and enjoying it as much as I am, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday.